Crypto reputationally has always had problems, and this is not good. This is not good at all.
If Bitcoin does fall below 70K, a lot of the major Bitcoin miners shut down.
I believe this is an underfarmed drop, which means you can probably get into the top 500, 100 quite easily. So what I think people should look at is...
We are back with another episode of Don't Get Wrecked, and we are at a wrecking phase of the market right now. As we speak, Bitcoin is hovering around that 76,000 mark. Solana is down below 100 grand, and Ethereum is knocking on that 2,000 mark. So lots of things happening on the market, but other things are happening on the political sphere. Epstein files are all over the news, and crypto hasn't survived this controversy. Al, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, we have to, don't we, just so that people understand what's happening. I mean, on the one hand, you've got Bitcoin's decentralized. No one controls it. It protects you from financial corruption. And then you find out Epstein was one of its early funders and very much involved. And his ties to, a particular country and their intelligence agencies, suddenly all those things people used to say, index of money laundering. Oh my God, what if it was true? And it could be. And what crypto reputationally has always had problems, and this is not good. This is not good at all. I called a friend of mine at the weekend because I know he has a big bag, and I said we need to think about this because I think it's going to take a hit, and I think it's going to go potentially lower. And indeed, it did. When I called, it was around 80. It was over 80, right? And I see it going down further from here. What about you?
No, yeah, definitely. I think the FOMO has gotten a lot bigger. There are a lot of conversations on those 3.5 million pages that DOJ released. Epstein was a Bitcoin enthusiast, and then he was skeptical as well. He said that there's a lot of downside risk, and then he said, "Look, it's the next big thing." He was even tied to some of the early Bitcoin pioneers, some of the software engineers involved in that space, and of course, Bitcoin's biggest infrastructure company, Blockstream. He was directly investing in that company. So a lot of bad rep for Bitcoin at a very bad time. So I personally think the price is gonna be, more on the downside, but there is a resistance level at around 75K. So if you see, Bitcoin is going to try to maintain that zone. And if it successfully retains that zone for at least for the next couple of weeks, we might see a rebound. But if Bitcoin does fall below 70K, a lot of the major Bitcoin miners shut down, and it's automatically they have a shutdown risk at 68 or 70 or 70K at that range. So if that happens, if Bitcoin does fall below 70K, there's gonna be a major bloodbath in the market. So do look for those resistance and support levels. What about you, Al? What do you think?
It's going to affect Michael Saylor's strategy as well, right? If it goes down, one of your black swans, Mo, was that MicroStrategy, or just strategy it's called now, may come into serious problems. And it might, right? Because the amount of runway he has keeps getting shorter. And if you look at the chart, we mentioned Solana dipping under 100. If you zoom out, it's the same price it was 2 years ago, and it's done what we call the triple bottom in trading terms. So Solana's triple bottomed. Now, does that mark the bottom? It might not, right? I mean, we could see $80, at which point I'll be buying some more. But one of the things I thought was so interesting about the weekend was I was worried. Well, I was expecting that capital would rotate a little bit out of crypto and that it would go into precious metals, gold and silver, which had been enjoying a historic rally. And what happened? They dumped too, right? They dumped hard. They erased most of the recent gains. They are coming back up now. But interestingly, something like 15 or 20 trillion dollars disappeared. Where did it go, bro? That's half the US debt. Just where'd it go? Right. And something I want to talk about that I never hear anyone talk about. There's two sides to it. So the side that people do talk about, the US debt is a figure. It's about 39, 40 trillion. Now, if Trump's economic policy means that the dollar weakens, he's essentially decreasing the debt. Even though the number remains the same, if the dollar's weaker, he's essentially making the debt cheaper, right? So a lot of what we see is to manipulate the dollar price. And that applies also to some extent to the British pound and the euro. These are three currencies heavily involved in trading, right? Massively involved in trading. So I want to share what I would call some fiat alpha, because this is what I was saying to my friend at the weekend, is the dollar's tanking constantly. And I think it's my personal conspiracy theory. The dollar, the euro, and the pound are all going to end up roughly worth the same amount, at which point they'll be saying, why don't we just have one currency for everyone? And I'll be going, oh my God, that's horrifying. So what I think people should look at is the Swiss franc. The Swiss franc is famously it's the most stable fiat, right? It is the one that loses purchasing power the least over time. So what you could call it is the lesser of the evils. So the fiat alpha is, if you have an exchange that can store Swiss franc, you can exit a bag if you're worried it's going to go down, not into US dollar backed stable coins, but into the Swiss franc. And that will preserve your capital a lot better than pounds, euros, and dollars. So that's the fiat alpha. Now, I think a smart move would have been, hey, you take profits from gold and silver into the franc, big dip, go back from the franc into gold and silver come back up, and then you take profit from them into Bitcoin. And at no point are you then dealing with pounds, dollars, or euros, right? And you can be increasing your stack through these trades. So I wanted to talk about that as a way to protect yourself from the manipulation and frankly the bullshit that we're seeing in the market, right? Because let's be clear, it's being manipulated, right? There's undeniable that that's what's happening. So that's the market update. Did you have anything you want to add to that, Mo?
No, I think that's all we can say about the market right now. It's very unpredictable. And, if you wanted to do predictions, it's better to now go into the prediction markets narrative, which is getting up again.
Yes.
A lot of betting going on Polymarket and Kalshi, but the main thing is they now have a lot of crypto native or blockchain native competitors. And I think, Al, you find a nice one recently. It's called Rain Protocol. They launched a token as well, and everyone's talking about it. It's trending on CoinGecko. So, Al, what is Rain Protocol? And there's an airdrops program, I think, as well. Do you want to explain that?
That's right. We've gone from fiat alpha back to crypto alpha. So prediction markets, absolutely huge. Every project from Coinbase to Robinhood are integrating Polymarket or Kalshi. Polymarket and Kalshi made their two CEO founders the youngest billionaires ever, right? Just recently. So we know this is a big deal. But unfortunately, these are centralized. They are, for-profit private companies. And if you're big into crypto, some of the ideology is around decentralization and community governance. And what that really means is no single point of failure or bottleneck. So what Rain Protocol have done is they've spun up a platform, yes, but they also have the Rain DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. So interestingly, rather than run a points program and an airdrop in testnet, what Rain Protocol have done is they've already launched a token so that you can hold it and join the DAO throughout the beta program, and you can earn points towards what they're calling the raindrop airdrop on mainnet, well, as it's live, right? So that's actually quite a cool idea, and we'll get an image of the chart up. But the post-launch chart for Rain in the current market is near miraculous. It's pretty much up only. And that's nuts right now. I mean, we've seen like Moonbirds is like a bloody yo-yo since it launched. But Rain looks on a really nice trajectory. It's got interesting backing from a biopharmaceutical company putting 212 million into it. It's a serious sign of confidence. And ultimately, it's a very cool product because it's a permissionless market, which means you and I can create one. So, you could create a market that says, in the next DGR, is Mo going to say the word potato? And we could actually bet on that and create a market for that. And it pays creators, it buys back and burns the Rain token, which already is generated and exists. And the way it works is the more Rain you hold, the more your trading power. So you can have bigger trading volume the more Rain you hold. And it has a bunch of utility. Really cool. We'll share some screenshots of the platform, but it's in beta right now, which means you're early. Go and get involved. Everything you do is going to build points towards the raindrop, which is potentially going to be a significant airdrop. I expect H1, not Q1, so sort of before July time. But if you're going to be looking at prediction markets anyway, why not look at one that's decentralized and community governed? Because we've seen the power of these markets. Imagine if they were no longer gate kept and anyone could create any market and help manage it. So that's Rain Protocol. I think it's very exciting. I've done a little bit of poly marketing myself. Mo, have you done any prediction market stuff?
I think prediction markets, it's clearly the biggest trend right now, and even with or without crypto. What polymarket faces limitations there's a lot of talk about regulations in the state of New York, in Europe. I think polymarket was banned right now in Portugal, in France as well. So a lot of problems from regulators these markets are facing. But having, projects like Rain, which brings permissionless, more decentralized mechanics back into this space, I think this just makes sense. Prediction markets should be very blockchain native. It should be very crypto native, and it just works. It just makes sense. So yeah, I love the business model of Rain Protocol. I love how it's operated. I love that I can just go in and create my own market. Bet on anything. Is Brazil gonna win the World Cup or not? Oh, is it coming home? Is England winning the World Cup?
Yes, please.
Well, I know how people are gonna bet on that. So it's really a very creative idea. I think Rain is very bullish, but of course, do your own research. It's an early stage project. As with any early stage project, there are risks of volatility, but there is also opportunity. If you are an early investor, this might end up being one of the best bullish prediction markets on the crypto space, at least.
Absolutely. Yeah. And worth noting, because it's not testnet, you will need some real funds to farm this drop. We've actually got another drop we want to talk about that will also require some real funds. So sometimes, and I don't think we talk about this enough, but when we get an airdrop win, a lot of people instantly just dump the tokens or they lock them up in staking forever. A viable strategy would be sell half. If you get airdropped a significant amount, sell half to stable coins and then use those stable coins to farm the next drop, right? So instead of relying on test nets that are free, you can now farm mainnet campaigns and things like that. So that's a verifiable strategy that I think is sensible. And let's assume that our audience has had some wins and they've got a few stable coins on Solana. We're going to be talking about the Solana chain next because we like Solana very much. And those of you that have been listening know that I like gold very much. I mean, I'm human, right? It's a shiny yellow metal. Who doesn't like gold? So we're going to talk about Oro Finance's Oro Gold. Now, I first started hearing about this a little while ago when it just span up, because traditionally gold was a difficult investment. You would need to have physical bullion, big, heavy. You'd have to store it securely and then probably insure it. So it actually costs you a lot of money per month just to hold gold, which is nuts. It also, institutional gold isn't being used as jewelry or in industry. So it's not providing a yield. It's not what we call a productive asset. However, the blockchain has changed that for precious metals and specifically for gold, right? So now with Oro Finance's Oro Gold, you can earn an APY on the gold that you hold that is paid out in more gold. Bit like staking rewards. It's going to pay out in the same token. Now, they have just announced recently the reward campaign. I don't believe it has a specific name, but the points you're going to be building are called nuggets, which is just a fun word to say. But of course, it's like a gold nugget, right? So, the gold miners back in the Wild West are always looking for the nugget of gold, right? So now there is a leaderboard and there is a nugget program. You can get 30 nuggets just for linking your X account to Oro Gold. Naturally, the more you do, the more nuggets you're going to make. And that includes referring friends. But ideally, what we want to do is we want to take some USDC and we want to mint new gold, because I think that would be a secret multiplier. So instead of buying existing gold, I think creating new gold by minting Oro Gold with USDC is gonna earn you some extra nuggets. So you can go onto the platform. We'll get a screenshot to show you what it looks like. You can go on, mint some gold, lock some up for the yield, but not all of it. And then with the rest, you can do trades, you can swap with it, and you can also provide liquidity. Now, providing liquidity is always giving good boosters to points programs. So in this particular case, let's say you're going to farm this airdrop with $20, swap it up into $5 tranches, $5 to mint the gold, $5 staked, $5 to trade, $5 to provide liquidity. Do it like that. The nuggets, that's good. I'm going to make me laugh saying that all the time. The nuggets are paid out weekly. And so there's basically a snapshot that will then send out your sweet nuggies every week. Climb up that leaderboard. I believe this is an underfarmed drop, which means you can probably get into the top 500, 100 quite easily. It's going to be difficult to compete with people that are deploying huge funds. But certainly, if you're interested in gold, you're interested in Solana, you're interested in passive income, why would you not go and park some stable coins in this new protocol and earn some sweet nuggies? So that's Oro Gold. What do you think?
Awesome, man. Use USDC to mint gold. That's you sold me there. So
yeah,
Oro Gold, it's definitely an early project for airdrop hunters if you want to get into it. But yeah, really, really good alpha. So, some prediction markets, some gold minting, that's what you need to, stay alive in this bear market and, stay hydrated.
Yeah. The bear is here. Absolutely. I agree. I think the bull run, we were this close, weren't we, to enjoying a historic bull run in October. And then something happened on the 10th that's dragged us back possibly years. But if you keep watching, if you like and subscribe and you follow our stuff, you won't get wrecked. Okay. So that's all for today. Thank you, Mo. Good to see you, my friend. And we'll talk again soon.